Hi, this is my presentation on collaboration within the field of biology. So, to give a brief overview of what I'd like to discuss today, we want to talk about some of the program details for biology, looking at the different types of members that might be useful in the advisory of these biology programs or courses, some different strategies that can be used for collaboration within, and then also a scenario where we have a need or problem and kind of how we can address it, what types of stakeholders should be involved in that process, communication tools, as well as some meeting considerations to kind of help us out. So, first off, we got to look at the necessity of biology programs, understanding kind of what the importance is with them. And the study of biology, it's a wide-ranging topic. It's got a lot of different subcategories. You have general biology, but you have everything from microbiology, anatomy and physiology, zoology, botany, so many different things. Studying life, of course. And with that, there's quite a lot of different options that kind of show up. So a lot of the different things we're looking at involve data. We need to be able to take data through various forms of research, explore it, analyze it, interpret it, and basically just be able to gather information and draw conclusions from it. So at the end of the day, we want to have comprehensive and accurate information. And one of the beauties to this is that along with this research and data, we have quite a lot of visualization from models, diagrams, various things that can kind of help us out in showing and learning about this information. So, there are various different stakeholders that I feel like should be involved with biology programs or just science programs in general. And I've kind of broken them down into 3 different subcategories. So the first is faculty and admin. And this category is going to be a few different people because faculty, of course, is going to be the instructor, but it could also be the other department members. It could be members of staff from other departments that might help you out, whether that be IT or whether that be from some other kind of department that might help you out with just curriculum design, making sure your syllabus looks right. As well, different forms of administration. You might have counselors that get involved. You might have people that work with support services that are involved. You could have chair members, faculty member heads from like your department, or just somebody that's over you that kind of helps to make sure that your stuff is regulated properly. So all these different individuals can kind of play here because you need to make sure that students, one, are having meaningful interactions, and that's going to come quite a lot from the teacher, whether that be in person or online. The teacher is what's going to help set the mood. They're going to help set what goes on in that class. They're going to help make sure that there are meaningful interactions that help keep students engaged and interested in the course and that are providing relevant information and resources to them. But other people that assist that teacher, whether it be department members or administrative assistants, help in the development of necessary guidelines, objectives for the course, curriculum design. So all these things are pretty important for them. We're also going to have the second group being alumni and industry professionals. And these things kind of work hand in hand because, well, alumni have been in these programs before, or more recently perhaps, and they know what they learned themselves in the program, but they also know what is currently expected of them in the career field. As well, industry professionals, well, they're ones helping to run things in that career field that somebody might be studying biology for. So alumni are very helpful for being able to keep universities or different programs up to date with modern changes, keeping them up to date with technological advances, research opportunities, and they can help with curriculum design for that reason. But industry professionals are very useful too because they can help set up opportunities for students that are working in those programs, whether that be work studies, shadowing, different types of research projects that these students could be involved in that can help get them experience. And so they're going to be very effective in helping with the curriculum design as well. And of course, we have to have the individuals that help to fund these types of programs. And well, science programs are not very cheap. There's quite a lot of technology that comes into play with this. There's equipment and tools, lab equipment, different materials. I mean, of course, anatomy and physiology has dissections, for example. So a lot of money needs to be used in helping to get those specimens. There's a lot of different things here. But these individuals want to make sure that their money is going to something that's helpful and that's productive and that is being used in a useful way to help make sure students are going to be able to be successful in the career field. Money has to be appropriately used, and they want to know how it's being used. So having them involved in the conversation for how the curriculum works and making sure that they understand what the goals, the curriculum are for these students that are at a university is very, very helpful, because it might increase funding, or it at least makes them aware of how things are being done and how that's going to be important for graduates in the future. At the end of the day, the funding is there for research projects, equipment, and to promote ways in which collaboration and innovation are done by our students so that they can be successful. So there's a couple of different interesting communication methods that I think were really interesting and pertinent to biology courses specifically. And the first is elevator talks. Elevator talks remind me very much of what we do in science courses, which a lot of times is look at a big picture or a goal and then kind of work our way backwards, trying to find out how to reach that goal in an effective manner and meet all those objectives along the way. So it's great because these can be longer or shorter conversations, generally shorter, but they can be longer as well. And they don't require a great amount of prior knowledge beforehand in order to get into one of these. They could be in a group, they could be a couple of individuals talking. And what we generally do with these is we have a big picture at the end, and then we start taking retrospective steps in order to try to figure out how we get from where we are now to that goal at the end of the day. So we look at research, we talk about why it's important, and we try to find ways to basically answer the questions that we come across along the way in order to reach that big picture goal we have at the end. And we come at this with leaving out all the unnecessary information. We make sure we bring in the enthusiasm so that people can understand why this is important, why is it significant, and why we're so passionate about it. Additionally, you need to have the right tools at hand for our different stakeholders to be able to collaborate together with each other. And a lot of times these things kind of coincide with students as well, because having more access to programs and platforms helps students have more options, shall we say, to give them a little bit more freedom and creativity with their assignments. But teachers and administration need to have understandings of how these things work too. So we're aiming here now to not only increase student engagement and kind of give variety to instruction, but also give avenues for teachers and instructors and administration so that they too know how to use these things and can kind of work off of them too. So one of the biggest factors to this is going to be making sure that there's appropriate training. You got to have some level of professional development to make sure that these different tools are known, because if you're not told about them, a lot of times they can go under the radar. And also we know how to use them so we can use them properly. This could be things from conference call materials, such as utilizing Google Meets or Zoom. It could be things that are involved with project management or various different collaboration tools. But we need to have access to them and be trained on how to use them so that we can use them. So looking at a general scenario, what we're going with the scenario is going to be an online class that has received some negative feedback recently from students who are noted to be unengaged, and so they're not exactly enjoying the material in the course, or they don't feel like it impacts them enough, and they're also seeing poorer than adequate performance. So we want to be able to kind of determine some of the underlying problems of the course and try to make it better. As at the end of the day, when we look at courses, especially say in biology, we're looking to, of course, make sure that with an online course that it's flexible and it's accommodating to students, because that's often the point of an online course. But we also want to make sure that what we're bringing to the table for them is still rigorous information that does challenge them, utilizes up-to-date current materials, and are able to provide adequate feedback so that our students can kind of learn off of that, figuring out what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and kind of become the best student that they can in the process. So looking at some of our different scenario needs, we want to see a higher level of engagement across our students. We want the students that are in the course to feel like the time that they're spending there is meaningful. We want them to feel as though the content is relevant to them. We want it to be able to affect their lives, make it feel as though it's relevant to the career paths that they want to reach after they're done being educated. We want to make sure that the information is relevant to them. We, of course, want to see better student ratings in the course, whether that be through their engagement, whether it be through the types of content that they are experiencing in the course and the level of feedback that they're receiving so that they can improve along the way. And then, of course, like with any class, we want to see their performance increase too. We want to make sure that the students are doing well in these courses. They need to be able to succeed, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that they do succeed. So, some of the ideas that we can possibly look at to help solve some of the problems with our particular online course scenario. We want to make sure that everything is proper with the university curriculum standards, course objectives, and that it's relevant to modern career fields involved with the programs. So we want to make sure that all the information that they're being given is the essential information, that it is pertinent, that's relevant to them, and that it's going to help them in the future. We want to make sure that our syllabus and all of our coursework is aligned properly. We want to make sure that the objectives for the class are being met by the coursework that they're being given, that the students have access to some variety so that they have a level of choice and flexibility with their assignments, and that the information that they're being presented is interesting, that it's relevant, and that they want to dive into it and get a deeper understanding for it. And of course, we want to make sure that the modern technology is being used, because there's a lot of different options out there for students to help them out if they're struggling in a class. You're going to have different things available, such as support services, whether it be through IT, whether it be through counselors, whether it be through different support services to help with their writing or to help them with tutoring. These things need to be available to them. We want to make sure that they're being provided this information so that they know what they can do to get that extra help if needed, and to further promote their choice in how they do things in courses, how much time they want to spend to try to improve if they are struggling in a course, and give them the greatest amount of flexibility possible to move forward. So the stakeholders specifically that I find that are the most important to involve in this particular scenario starts off with the students. You know, we said before that the students have already provided negative feedback about how they feel about the course. And well, the students are going to be the ones that are directly being impacted by what's happening in the course, and they're going to have a great level of understanding as far as what's causing the struggle, what is making this difficult for them, why are they unengaged, what do they not like about the course. And it may not necessarily be something that students can do all the time, but doing basic things like surveys or getting general pieces of information from them definitely can help us to start moving in the right direction for what kind of changes we want to see happen. The next is the instructor. And the instructor is, of course, going to be a huge role because, well, they're the ones setting all the parameters for the course. The instructor has the syllabus, the assignments, provides the feedback, and generally just gives the overall mood or atmosphere for the course. So the instructor has to be in the loop in order to make these changes effective. And then the last is kind of a big group of people. We're talking curriculum designers and technology support teams. And this can be a lot of people. This could be the department members that are in that science department. It could be other departments that might be playing an influential factor as well. It could be an IT department helping with the setup of your technology. It could be administration. It could be so many different people. And the idea with this group is that we want people that are going to be able to help us to make sure that our curriculum meets university standards, make sure that our course objectives and assignments are meeting the curriculum standards, and making sure that we are doing things that are helpful to these students that are going to be useful for when they hit into these job fields, but also that all the technology is relevant and that the options are there for them to be able to utilize them for their creativity and for their success. So, stakeholders got to communicate. And there's a few different ways that this can be done, some simpler, some less formal, but there's a good variety here. So, of course, emails. And most people have probably said this before, but not everything needs to be a meeting. There's some pieces of information that simply could just be in the form of an email. And especially just between a couple individuals or a small group of people, an email a lot of times can suffice for communicating small bits of information. That does not mean that conference calls or meetings are something that we shouldn't also have. So utilizing tools like Zoom or Google Meets, or just having in-person meetings is a great way to allow people to communicate in a bigger group, to brainstorm and to get ideas across. Presentations are great for getting ideas across as well. They can be done virtually or in person, and they're also really, really good at showing off data, showing progress, showing different goals and what's being done to reach those goals. And then the last one that I think is really important here is surveys, because students, they play a big role here, and having student input matters. So allowing them to do surveys, whether that be halfway through towards the end of a course to see if things have changed, or if it's better, if it's worse, it's important information to have in order to get an overall better course that's going to suit students in the future. So an idea that I have with our meeting operations. So initially, I feel like surveys are really important because we can kind of get a basis of what our problems are and what our students feel. And then we move into a kickoff meeting, looking at these surveys, looking at the information that's been given, discussing the known problems, allowing people to have the chance to get acquainted with each other and start developing our group expectations, roles, and goals. Next is going to be brainstorm sessions. These would be relatively frequent, and they don't have to necessarily be big meetings. It could be small groups, like a department, or across emails in order to kind of convey information. But these ideas need to be done generally in small groups, and they're going to kind of give ideas for things we can do in order to make the course better. Usually, sometimes it's baby steps, sometimes it's suggestions for types of coursework that needs to be changed or how it can be done better. And then lastly, we're going to have the project steering meetings. And these are ones that are a little bit less frequent, but they're going to do a lot for us because they show us how we're progressing. They take data, they collect it, we analyze it, and we use that data to kind of see if we're making progress towards our course being better. Is the data showing that we are making improvements and that it's better for our students moving forward? So the way I have this set up is that we have a kickoff meeting initially, and then from there we shoot for bi-weekly project steering meetings with weekly brainstorm sessions at the minimum. Now, of course, again, you can have these brainstorming sessions more frequently in smaller groups across emails or across small conferences, but it just kind of depends. But the brainstorming sessions, I think, are super important to kind of help us in gathering ideas, and then we take these ideas, implement them into the class, collect the data from it, and then take it into a presentation, analyze it in these project steering meetings, and see how to progress forward from there. And that is my presentation upon our ability to use and have stakeholders communicate well in order to improve biology courses overall. Thank you guys for your time.